Welcome back to Given Chance's Farm. Today we're just going to be taking a walk through the pasture and taking a look at it. We've done some bale grazing here over the winter and been trying to fill in some of the spots around the pasture. If you remember from previous videos, I've kind of showed you where they were at. And we've looked at them a few times. Now they're starting to actually break down the leftover hay, and there's quite a bit of grass growing in most of them right now. It's been kind of a weird year around here. Normally we're able to rotate the cows in the back pasture a little bit more frequently than we have this year. This is the first year since we've lived here that I can remember actually feeding round bales in August. So it's been pretty hot and dry. On the days that we do get rain, it's been a lot of rain in a short amount of time, so it's not one that soaks in and really lets the grass soak it up and do much with it. It's more of 2 inches at a time in like half hour to an hour time frame, so most of it becomes runoff instead of soaking into the soil like it should. We'll try and take a look at this one right here in front of me. You can kind of see there how the grass is starting to come back into it, and it's actually what was hay is now dirt. Let's see if we can get a better look at it here. So it's starting to get the grass growing up in it. This at one time was the chaff from the hay. We used to end up having to do a lot more man hours in it as far as raking it up and either hauling it to the compost pile or to the burn pile or something like that, and it basically just turned it into waste. So now we found a different use for that waste, or what used to be waste, and it's actually helping the soil better, and it's making the grass around here a lot better as well. So now if the weather would just cooperate with us where we could rotate them out of this, because this is actually their winter pasture, but they're still in it right now. We had to pull them off the rotational stuff and use this as a sacrifice lot. So it's closer to the barn, closer to my equipment. So if I've got to rework an area, I'd rather rework this. And it's also the higher ground, so if we allow them to have access to it and sacrifice it as they stack up more urine and feces, then it has a chance to, we can move it down the hill later if I have to. So, or for what is a hill here in Indiana, at least it's pretty flat around here compared to what most of you are used to. So alright, we're gonna take a walk back here. Some of the spots where we rotate them into are starting to look a little better since we've used this lot up here as a sacrifice lot. We can actually, we're getting close to where we can actually start using it again. Let's see. It's not as easy to get the gate open one-handed. There we go. Alright. So basically we're walking back here now. We're in the area right behind the beehives. This was the last area that they grazed in, and as you can see, we're starting to get some clover back. So we've got some red clover coming back in this area again. When we first started last year doing this, or last year, year before last, doing a little bit of the rotational grazing, this section right here, about a 20-foot circle always seemed to end up being about waist high in weeds. And it was real tough. I used to come back here after we made the transition from horses to cattle and block this area off for the cows, because the pond area. We would bale hay around this area just to clear it off a few times a year. And this area right here, about like I said, a 20-foot circle, just ended up always wanting to be weeds. And we use this old sickle bar mower to cut hay, and this area would just give you fits. It would always bind up in the sickle bar, not want to cut, just wad up. You'd have to back up, clear the blade, pull forward into it again. It really just became a real pain. But moving the cows back here, letting them come through here, there's just a handful of those weeds still left, but most of the time after the cows come through and graze it, they actually trample it enough that there's actually grass growing from the underneath side now. We've got a lot more red clover in this section. It's looking a lot better. So we'll keep on going back here just a little bit. So this area here, you can see is kind of knocked down from where I have to drive the tractor and the wagon through, and also the tree service that we have that comes and brings us the wood chips that are over here that we're using to fill the hole in. So they on days that it's dry enough around here, which lately it's been pretty good for them to be able to bring it all the way to the back, so that helps us. But if it's damp at all, they dump it up there by the barn, and then I have to move it myself. So it takes a little bit longer for me to move it back here with the old grain wagon, dump wagon. We also use that as a hay wagon when we're baling hay too. But and they bring brush and wood also. So sometimes I can sort some of that out and use it as firewood. Other times it just goes in as fill. So, but this area right here is looking pretty good. Let's see if we can give you a little better look at it. So they've been off of this area for about 2.5 weeks now. So we're starting to get some grass growing back up. And we've got some red clover in certain areas here too. There are tire tracks in this section because I did have to drive back this way. Last week I brought some of the last of the honey supers back this way so that we could create a robbing station. That way they could rob them out and clean them up so we can be done with the honey for the year. So the next thing we'll be doing with the bees, we'll be doing some mite checks and seeing if we have to fill in a couple of holes. I think out of the 30 that we had, I think we actually have 26 viable colonies right now, and one of those is a nuke box. So I think I'm going to take that nuke and put it into the place where one of the other hives were. So, but this area back here is looking a lot better now. This section right here was a row of scrub trees, and it was Osage orange trees, so had thorns on it, and had a short row of fencing that was all entangled in it. The people that we bought the place from, when they dug the pond, this also must have been where they decided to throw all the rocks that they found while they were in there. So there's some pretty good size landscaping rocks, small, what I would call field stone, and then there's some big ones. I can show you 2 of them that I've moved over here that are pretty good size right here. These 2 right here, they were about everything that our little 40 horse tractor wanted to move. It's got a 5.5 foot wide skid steer bucket on it, and I could barely get the bucket up off the ground with it in it. So we ended up, I actually put the tractor in reverse and just almost dragged the bucket a little bit over this way, and then turned around and pushed it in to that area. Is kind of how I moved it over here, but it wasn't the greatest way to do it, but it got it accomplished without tearing my tractor up and anybody getting hurt. So hope everybody enjoys the videos. We should be, from the looks of this grass, we should be able to get the cows back rotating again. I know we were requested to try and do a video on how we move the fencing when we move cows each day, and I don't know if you can tell right here. Here we go, I can show you. But basically we use the white step-in posts. Let's see, it gets you a better look of it. Right there it is. Okay, so white step-in post, and then we also have some metal T-posts. Basically we block off the pond area so they can't get to that, and then we worry about the amount of animals that we're putting in a certain area at one time to try and concentrate that urine and manure. So our cows are handled pretty regularly. I try to run them through the barn and get them through our chute on a normal basis, at least every other month or so. That way I can check their weights, and then with the weights I use it to help the calculation. It's not the only method you can do. Some guys just go off of, they go out and they look at the grass, they see how many days they think they can get out of each section, and basically it's a guessing game, because weather changes all that, how fast it's growing at the time, and everything. I start out by taking their weights and I calculate up how many thousands of pounds I want per acre, and then I divide that down, and I basically am able to start them out at when the grass is growing really well. With our breed of cattle, I can knock them down to where in one day they can eat a section that's about 81 feet by 81 feet in a square. So I can fence that off real quick with some of the equine rope and those white step-in posts. So it's able for one of us to do that. So while I'm at work, Brittany's able to move that fence by herself, and it doesn't take that long. We run the cows back up at nighttime into the sacrifice lot, because we don't have it to where we can put them in permanent rotational grazing spots yet. So we move them during the daytime, let them graze that area, and then we always leave it to where they have access to go back to the sacrifice lot as they want to, if they're in an area where there's not proper shade. That way, the other side of that is we don't have to move stock tanks every day either. So hope you enjoyed the videos. If you got any questions, comment below. Don't forget to share it on social media with your family and friends. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you have any questions for us, have any videos that you would like to see from us, don't hesitate to comment that down below, and we'll do what we can to make it happen. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.